Hello and welcome to the debate. I'm Farrukh Pitafi. Viewers, this program is usually hosted by Sana Maqbool, but this week she is traveling, so I'm going to guest host the program. I'm going to fill in for her. But regarding what we are going to discuss today, you must have guessed it already. If you have been following news in the throughout the day, you must have seen the sights and sounds that were pouring in from Lahore, where Imran Khan Sahab was to present himself in front of two courts. And while the courts actually kept on showing leniency, and it was considerable leniency, but eventually he did produce himself in the court and he finally got the bail that was needed. But while it was happening, he was accompanied by his supporters who actually were in droves, and they seemed to swarm the courts. And to be honest, in Pakistan history, this is not something new. It has been happening. But where we actually see something different, that is the leniency that I was talking about. In the past, usually it doesn't happen that anybody is given this kind of leeway that they cannot actually appear before the court, and they are repeatedly given new deadlines, and eventually they have to actually they present themselves. And even at the last moment also, Imran Khan Sahab was sitting in his car and he was requesting that the court should send somebody to him rather than he going to the court because of the security situation. So that is, or PTI's politics is one important aspect that we are going to discuss today. The second one, and of course it is also linked to the first, it is adjacent if not directly connected, is the matter of elections in two provinces, Punjab and Khyber Pakhtunkhwa, which are imminent. We saw some back and forth between the president and the election commission. President first invited the Chief Election Commission to consult with him and to announce a date for the elections. Then we saw a letter coming from the Election Commission also, which complained about the language that was used, and they said that Election Commission cannot do it on its own, and it is the responsibility of the governors, respective governors, to actually give the date. And today we have seen the president of Pakistan actually on his own actually unilaterally giving a deadline or a date for the elections, that is April 9th. Now what is quite intriguing about April 9 is that it is the date when former Prime Minister was actually removed from power. At that time also it was quite interesting that initially there was a vote of no confidence against the former Prime Minister Imran Khan, and then he tried to dissolve the assemblies, and the very president actually approved his request. The decision was later challenged in the court. We are going to discuss both these issues, and in order to help us understand these issues, in the studio I'm joined by Hafiz, Ahsaan, Ahmad, khokhar, who is the Advocate Supreme Court. Thank you very much, sir. Thank you very much, sir, for being part of the program. And we are also joined by Rana Maqbool Ahmad, Senator, Pakistan Muslim League Nawaz. He joins us on Skype. Thank you very much, sir, for being part of the program, Rana Saab. Let me start with the guest in the studio. Hafiz Saab, today you have seen the proceedings, what was happening in Lahore. We haven't seen this kind of concession or this kind of leeway that was given. The question, it only reminds me of one case that was MQM actually swarming the court in Karachi following a hearing on 12th May incident. And after that, we saw that they managed to get some concession as well. So now the question is it going to be this way in the future as well?
Thank you so much. This is a very important point you have raised, whether the courts, if you have a hearing in the courts, so this is a way to go to the court. But we have a political checkered history in Pakistan, and it is going on since decades, start from the former Prime Minister Mohtarama Benazir Bhutto. When there was a hearing, the people get together there, they were crowded. Then it was done with the Mian Nawaz Sharif Saab, when he had a hearing before the courts. This is the same style. And then now the former Prime Minister Actually, the point is that the politicians, instead to go on the in the courts on the merits, they are trying to show their muscles outside the court and to show their opponents, especially, that they have a large followers. But at the same time, it is the legal responsibility of our law enforcement agencies that to keep away such gathering from the premises of the court. So if the law enforcement agencies are active on that side, so that situation would not be occurred in a future. So this is the one stand. The second is that now we should avoid from having cases against the political figures on one way or other way, because we have simultaneously have a weak political and the criminal justice system in Pakistan, and we are registering the cases on even on those issues where the political leaders are not present. We registered the case, and we included such sections frequently.
Right. Hafiz, I'm sorry to cut you, but what you are saying essentially is that even if a politician actually commits crime, there should not be there shouldn't be a case at all against them. There is something ironic about today's case, right? Because this was about, trying to intimidate the Election Commission of Pakistan. There was violence on the street that day as well. And today, once again, we saw a kind of repeat of the same muscular posture. So you are saying that because there is a muscular posture and because our judicial system fails to prosecute such people to the very end, that means that we should not even be filing or framing the cases?
No. We should register cases against those who made the violations of law and who made committing the offences which is described under the Pakistan Penal Code. But the way which are we handling in all the political situation, I'm not talking about any person specific. I'm talking about in the journal, there are so many cases registered against the People's Party, and there was no need at that time. There were so many cases registered against the PML-N at that time, and now there is another, series of registration of cases against the PTI. And the most important thing is that while we're registering the case, because we have a police system and it is an outdated system, and there is no one to check over it while we're registering a case against someone, whether the contents of the offense is made out or not, one. And the second most important thing is whether such offences is liable to be prosecuted under the Anti-Terrorism Act or under the 124A of the Constitution.
Perhaps those sections might not have been included. Allow me to actually bring in Rana Maqbool Ahmad Saab, who is patiently waiting for his turn. Rana sir, thank you very much for joining us. Your reaction to today's event, incidents in Lahore, and the question at this moment is that for 2 days or 3, there wasn't any bail for the accused, and yet we haven't seen any kind of action coming from the police authorities. And today also we saw exceptional protection given to the former Prime Minister. Your party rules at the center, and there is a caretaker government in Punjab. Why would that be the case, that there are two different standards for an ordinary person like yours truly and another for Imran Khan Saab?
Thank you, Mr. Pitafi sir. My salam to you and a friend sitting beside you, law laureate. By all means, this is a phenomena of extraordinary relief to Mr. Imran Khan. I fully agree with my friend, the honorable lawyer, saying that law and order machinery didn't manage it properly, what I understood and construed from his dispensation, because there is a science of management as far as policing is concerned. The police officers must have got over to the leader like Imran Khan and his closest people who are managing this and coordinated this exercise properly. It was not properly coordinated. We have been doing this, and most of the time it succeeds. There was free for all, there was nobody, and it was a great chance for a terrorist to strike, because there was no inner cordon, there was no outer cordon, there was no proper checking, there was not proper surveillance, there was not body searches. All these measures were not taken. So it's not a correct approach towards such situations. And he was
Right.
given total free hand. Now, coming down to the Honorable Court's concessions and extraordinary relief, that is there, that's self evident. And that shouldn't happen. The law should be implemented strictly, enforced strictly, without any discrimination. It shouldn't happen, you have rightly pointed out. But all the same, what happened in the court, if I may be allowed to sum it, in the court of Honorable Tariq Sheikh Sahab, there was a case of fictitious and forged relations, forged signatures. I don't know how it was overlooked. That is, the four signatures were there before the Honorable Court, and the cognizance should have been taken, and action should have been taken. If Imran Khan says these are not my signatures, then whose signatures it were? The cognizance should have been taken, because this issue was in the limelight for the last over 1 week. So once at this highest possible forum, if this mistake is there and this offense is there, the cognizance should have been taken. And
So,
anybody
Rana
whosoever
sir, what you are
responsible.
saying is that this would have amounted to a case, a separate case of perjury?
Yes, that is there. Yeah, you are submitting an application to the Honorable Court, and you are putting up false signatures. This is an offense, and this is not enough saying that this was not this petition was filed without my permission. Okay, it was filed without his permission. Then who did it, and why did he imitate the false signatures? Well, that's an offense. So let's not go for making mockery of law like this, even in the highest possible
Right.
forum, judicial
Rana sir,
forums.
very quickly, let me go back to my question that I asked. Today, there was definitely a failure of law and order, enforcement agencies. Who should be held responsible for what was happening around the High Court today?
That is the administration. They are answerable. And who can stop the administration from taking proper action, proper and discreet action? Everything is not to be let loose like this. As I've already submitted to you, it was a bright moment for the terrorists to strike, or anybody to strike, or any saboteurs, or any hoodlums could have struck. So therefore, such chances are not to be given in name of generosity on the part of administration.
Right.
Administration should be strict and according to law, and especially under these conditions, once the terrorist onslaught is there, whole of the country, and we're grateful to God, nothing happened, but these chances are not to be taken by the administration. They are
Absolutely, sir.
responsible.
Rana Sahab, absolutely. Let me come back to the studio. Hafiz Sahab, you have listened to Rana Sahab's response as well. But he pointed out one thing, and you have also alluded to how police actually handled the matter today. Now, the question is, at this moment also, it seems that, the matter of policing in Lahore city, where this was happening, is also somehow confusing, because there is a decision about reinstating suspended CCPO, and we don't know whether he has been reinstated or not. And at that time when it happens, is it not logical conclusion of what was happening a couple of days ago in Supreme Court, when the honorable courts actually focus on such matters? Then there is going to be some kind of chaos that ensues, because there is administrative misunderstanding of what exactly is happening.
Pitafi sir, the most important thing, because my colleague on the other side, he has also been the IGP of a big province. The problem is that our police still has the outdated system of working. They have not been trained to have such policing in a province or in a district or even at the macro level. And then
even in a provincial capital,
even in a provincial capital,
yeah.
When there was an announcement by the other side, a political party leader, he is going to appear in the court, and he has filed a petition, and there was some proceeding carrying on. The CCPO of Lahore, he should take action like that to make such a thing that there should be no crowd inside the High Court, and there should also be no problem for the people who are traveling on the road, and just in particularly when there is a distance of Zaman Park to the High Court, it's just 5-7 minutes drive from there.
Right.
So some major arrangements should have been made, and not only for the purposes that the people should not get together, but for the purposes of the security of the Prime Minister of Pakistan. It is very important, because when
Prime Minister of Pakistan or
former Prime Minister of Pakistan, and when he entered into the High Court, and we've been seeing on the TV, he kept inside the car for hours just because there was no issue to bring him in the court. So there are simultaneously many issues like in the police, in the other institutions. So we need to rectify all this and should not happen in future.
Right, Rana, Hafiz, there's one complaint to the pundits that I talk to, you being one of them. Usually if the shoe was on the other foot, perhaps this kind of soft tone would have not been adopted for any other political party. One, we don't know what exactly is the status of CCPO in Lahore right now. Do we know that, whether Dogar Saab has actually taken over or not? Because last time the leak tape was about yesterday and day before yesterday. And then you pointed out earlier that it has been happening in the past as well, and I grant you that, but hardly ever has it worked regarding leniency or concessions given by the courts. I gave you only one example where it seems to have worked. That was in Karachi, where MKM London stormed the court, and then there was some kind of relief that was given to them. So are we not even going to address these issues, that there is some kind of disparity?
No, there should not be. There should be a rule of law in the country, and there should be equal treatment for every citizen, either he is a sitting Prime Minister or the former Prime Minister. There is no question about it, because we cannot move on until we have a rule of law, and there should be a trust on our judiciary that there is no discrimination on the other side. But simultaneously on the other side, if you look at the present cases where there was no, extraordinary relief to me on inside, that he applied for a protective bail, but the way it was kept pending and it was delayed. So if the law enforcement agencies initially early in the morning, they took a stand on that side.
Hang on.
Yeah.
You're saying there's no extraordinary relief.
Yeah.
You are a lawyer, and you have been actually, focusing on criminal cases as well, right?
Yeah.
You have handled them.
Yeah.
Do you think that if your bail application is rejected for 3-4 days, police just wait outside your house, giving you security rather than coming in and arresting you?
No, Pitafi Sahab, I'm talking not about the extraordinary. I'm talking about the nature of the case. The nature of the case is that he has applied for a protective bail to appear before a court in Islamabad.
First, hang on. Again, he is asked to actually appear himself, present himself before the court a couple of days ago. He does not actually come. Then he repeatedly, we keep on hearing warnings, final warnings. Then today also, it starts from 2 o'clock, then it goes to 4 o'clock, then it goes to 5 o'clock. And in the end, at 7 o'clock, we see that he is actually going there, but not before actually asking for some further relief. That is, you come to my car, and I'm not going to come to your court.
No, Pitafi Sahab, because I've been
can
also...
Can I as a common man do that?
No, I've been a practicing lawyer in the criminal matters. Generally, the courts are granting the protective bail to appear before the next court or another province. So this is a general principle. Even sometimes the protective bails are granted while you are not in Pakistan, you are outside Pakistan, you applied for a protective bail and only sought the permission to appear before the competent. But now in
there was an issue of perjury that seems to have been ignored.
This is very serious. This is very serious, and when you have not been authorized as a lawyer to file a petition, and you filed a petition, and then there was a cognizance on that, this is a serious issue. And there is a problem with our system, because we are not relying on the technology. If we should have the biometric system, such I mean things would not happen again. But the most important thing is that while hearing a court, there should not be perception given by any court, even from the lower court up to the top court, that there is some extended or a favorable treatment to anyone, not to the former Prime Minister, but to any citizen. And simultaneously, every citizen in Pakistan, he is important and his rights to be protected. And if he goes to some high court or the civil court for getting his relief, he should be given in a same way.
Right, and if he is delayed because of traffic or travel, he should be, the court could should be able to keep on extending the deadline.
This should not. This should not. This should not.
No, but apparently you are okay with that because
not.
it is part of the system.
This should not. This should not.
Allow me to actually go back to Rana Maqbool Sahab. Rana Sahab, earlier today I was watching or listening to Hafiz Sahab commenting on something in another program, and he was talking about the definition of general elections. And I'm actually alluding to or pointing to the kind of confrontation that have ensued between the presidency and election commission, where the president has given a date of an election and the election commission says that A, it is not answerable to the president in that context, especially when it comes to the provinces. And then, of course, the matter is also related to resources that they don't seem to have. And the governor is supposed to give the date. The question is, every 5 years, I see electoral laws being amended, and we are told that now they have become foolproof. And yet this happens that there seems to be a lacuna which is being exploited by some side. I don't know which one, whether it is presidency, PTI, election commission, or provincial governor or government, sir. Your take on this?
Pitafi Sahab, unfortunately, even at the level of the president, there has been little demonstration of respect for law and procedures. It's very unfortunate. Honorable President, knowing it fully well that this issue was pending before the intra-court appeal, which was made by the Election Commission, and it was before two honorable judges of Lahore High Court. And this case is sub judice. And more so, 2 days before, there was a move in the Supreme Court as well by two honorable judges. They submitted a recommendation to the Chief Justice that this issue should be taken up suo motu. And what was the hurry with the President to intervene and to take a decision? He shouldn't have taken any decision. It's against law. It's against ethics of legal practices. So I personally think this is extremely objectionable, unfortunately. So this is, whatever he has done, he has again done out of the way. It was not his job. Section 57 of the Election Act, what does it say? That if at all he has to do something, it has to be in consultation with the Chief Election Commissioner. Yeah. He can't move a half an inch without consultation and without assistance of the Chief Election Commissioner. He hasn't talked to the Chief Election Commissioner on that. And if at all he has done it with law, let's read Section 58 of the Election Act 2017. What does it say? That if the Chief Election Commissioner feels that he has to make a change after consultation, he is at liberty to do that. He can change the date, he can change the schedule. That's his competence. Meaning thereby, the law warrants, it's the total baby of the Chief Election Commissioner, and he is responsible for conduct of elections. President has overdone it. He shouldn't have done it, unfortunately.
Right.
That's not.
But Rana Sahab, my question again regarding the way we have been amending laws and constitution. I remember when 18th Amendment was passed. At that time, we were told that we have fixed all the problems that were there, and yet we have seen that there is this confusion. Some definition of president's role in this regard, especially when there is such a kind of conflict between the presidency and election commission. Why is it that after these incidents happen that we actually think about fixing that law rather than doing it before time?
You're
Rana sahab.
absolutely correct. We shouldn't have done it because if at all, actually law is a living organism, and it is subject to changes continuously. For example, I may give you one instance. There was a comment by the very renowned jurist, Hafiz must be knowing him, Khalid Anwar. He was commenting on Article 62 and 63. He says, once I went through time and again into the diction and the explanation of offenses, etc., I thought it was drafted by a kid. It is so faulty. So, meaning thereby, there is always scope for improvement. Laws should be changed. Nothing can be made final as far as law is concerned. But more so, the implementation of law warrants more sagacity and more depth of realization about accurate implementation of law. This is what has not been done by the president here, unfortunately.
Absolutely right, sir. Hafiz sahab, let me actually ask you, because this is something that I see that you might agree with Rana sahab eventually. And I'm talking about the current decision by the president that this date is such that elections have to take place on that. Now the question at this moment is that before 18th Amendment, we have seen that presidents in the past have been using their 58(2)(b) to penalize or somehow discipline or remove governments. And after that, we saw that that matter has been fixed. But the idea that a remnant from previous political order might actually try to confront the existing one, that was not taken into cognizance. And no matter what you say, sir, if you talk about special standards or double standards, there seems to be a problem here. Even when reference against Qazi Faizi Saab was removed or thrown out by the court, there was no action or no recommendation against the president, right? That wouldn't be the case with the previous, incumbents or previous presidents. There seems to be a little bit of leniency towards the, PTI, or for that matter, anybody who was appointed by PTI. At this moment, it seems that somebody is actually exceeding their mandate. May it be president, may it be election commission, may it be governor. So where is the law to fix it and hold them accountable?
The most important thing is now that since April 2022, we've been in unprecedented legal and constitutional situation in Pakistan. The Constitution and the Election Act 2017 is very much clear. First, we will take the issue is started in March and culminated in April 22. The opposition has a right to move a vote of no confidence against a sitting Prime Minister. If a resolution is moved, the Prime Minister cannot dissolve the Assembly, and simultaneously the Speaker or Deputy Speaker cannot set aside a motion on a point of a different article of the Constitution. The matter took up by the Supreme Court, and the Supreme Court decided that all was unconstitutional, and they made certain remarks on it. Then there was another problem when there was an elected Chief Minister in Punjab, and the governor refused to take oath on it, and even said, the president at that time said that it is my prerogative to remove a governor, which actually it is the Prime Minister prerogative to make and advise to the president, and the president has to implement. Then the matter went to the court, and there was certain observation, and ultimately, while in the meantime, the High Court has asked the Speaker National Assembly to take a vote which is unprecedented in the history of Pakistan, and the Chief Minister took the oath, and later on the observation of the Islamabad High Court, the President accepted a resignation and accepted the nomination by the Prime Minister. Then there was another problem. The Governor asked to the Chief Minister to take a vote of trust to the Chief Minister from a provincial assembly, He took some time, and ultimately the governor suspended the chief minister, and matter went to the.
I'm sorry, Hafiz Saab, are you actually answering my question or
No,
actually
I'm coming
making,
on.
No,
No,
hang on. Or
I'm coming
making
on.
my point for me.
No,
You're making my
no,
point for me.
I'm coming
that
on.
That a lot is missing there.
Yeah, no, that. And ultimately, the Supreme Court intervened, and the matter was. Now, the law and constitution is very much clear. The date of provincial assemblies election is a legal constitutional prerogative of a provincial governor.
Okay.
It is nothing to do with the President of Pakistan.
Right.
Under Article 105, it is a legal and constitutional obligation by a governor to give a date to the Election Commission of Pakistan if assembly is dissolved prior to its natural term. Now the president is taking a stance on section 57 and 58 of the Election Act 2018. The language of the section 57 and 58 is very much clear. He can only ask and consult to the election commission when there would be a general election.
Right.
The assembly would expire its natural terms.
And sorry to
Yeah.
be dense about it, but
Yeah.
what is the general election?
The general elections mean that simultaneously the National Assembly and the 4 provincial assemblies, they are expiring their term, and then they go for the general elections.
Do we have any legal or constitutional interpretation of that term?
Yes, we have. All the political parties, especially the opposition that time, they keep saying to the treasury that you should go for the general election.
But my question was, if judicial precedent is there must be some kind of judgment, right?
Yeah.
Otherwise, there must be some kind of litigation or some kind of lawmaking to this effect.
Now
do we see that anywhere?
No, this is unprecedented. What the constitution or the law says that he should go for any hypothetical situation. Our political leaders and the constitutional offices, they are not respecting their offices.
Okay, if the governor is exceeding his mandate, which body actually holds him accountable, and what is the method to do that? If the election commission is exceeding its mandate, what is the mechanism to actually discipline them? If it is the president who is exceeding his mandate, what is the process to hold them accountable?
In Pakistan, the Supreme Court of Pakistan or the High Court of Pakistan, they are the custodian of the constitution, and they have a right to interpret the constitution, and every state organization or institution, they have to bound to act upon decision of the Supreme Court of Pakistan.
But you are not answering my question. Who is going to punish them?
But the missing link would be that while making such observation by the Supreme Court of Pakistan, there should be some observations and some points should be made by the Supreme Court or the High Court. Now there is a violation, and some action should be taken against those responsible.
The matter of Chief Election Commissioner, if he exceeds his mandate, it goes to the Supreme Judicial Council, is it not?
Yes, it is a.
And where does the issue of governor's access, or for that matter, president, go to?
The president can be removed through impeachment by the parliament.
That is a voting process.
It is a voting process.
I'm talking about holding accountable.
You can't remove a president until you follow a process over there. And for the governor, because the governor is not elected by provincial assembly, so there is no process for him to have an action under the the impeachment. The action would be that because he is appointed on the advice of the Prime Minister, and the Prime Minister receives some suggestion from somewhere else, he can make a summary to the President for removal of a governor.
Right. Hafiz Saab, I'm told that we are running out of time. Let me very quickly go back to Rana Saab. Rana Saab, if you want to actually comment on this issue, especially if there is going to be a deadlock, who is going to break it? Is it again going to go to the courts? And if it is, where is the political will? Why is it that the politicians can still not actually convene the assembly and fix this law, this lacuna that might be there?
But Mr. Pitafi, sir, we have discussed this issue many a time already. I personally think there is a problem of general degeneration as far as our conduct and commitment to law and principles is concerned. And you might observe, you might have observed, right from top to bottom, that people are violating law, irrespective of their offices, of their profile, of their positions, unfortunately, at all levels. Once we start amending the constitutions during adjudication of the cases, as 63A, what would happen to the law and to the constitution? So therefore, there is no, this is a time to rise to the occasion by all the stakeholders. They must correct themselves. This is a situation and venture for self-purging. Every individual, especially who holds responsibility of the state, should conduct himself in a conscientious manner. Our problem is this. Perhaps law is not our problem. Our character is our problem.
No,
That is
but
the-
I
that's the problem.
understand. But Rana Sahab, the problem with this very noble answer is that it focuses on coulda, woulda, shoulda, what should happen, but that doesn't happen, right? We are talking about real politics here. So if there is going to be a deadlock, is it not again going to go to the Supreme Court? And once again, the matter becomes such that Supreme Court will be in a thankless position, because no matter which side actually it sides with, the other side is going to try to attack it.
They should not be worried and concerned about getting the gratitude from any party. They are the custodian of constitution and law. They must give the judgments which are according to law and their conscience. That will serve the purpose. And there are many decisions which are given against the parties. Parties may not accept or may not accept. But as far as the credentials of the decisions are concerned, they speak for themselves. There are many decisions the people have never accepted. Munir's decision was never accepted, and Mr. Arshad, that was not accepted. Saqib Nisa's decisions were not accepted. Carnelius' decisions were accepted. Ajmal Mia's decisions were accepted. And there is a difference between the individuals. This is what I'm stressing. The individual should rise above these worldly considerations, and they should stick to the path of virtue and responsibility in the process of their duty.
On that high note, sir, I'm told that we have to conclude the program. Senator Rana Maqbool Ahmad Sahab, thank you very much, sir, for being part of the program. Hafiz Ahsaan Ahmad Khokhar Sahab, thank you very much, sir, for being part of the program as well. Viewers, you have listened to our participants. Now, 2 or 3 things. As I pointed out at the start, whatever is happening in the country, in some letter of the law or some context that might be unprecedented, but we have seen similar kind of potassium politics and potassium tactics playing out in the country's history time and again. But here's one example that I raised at the start of this discussion, and that actually points to some other tendencies of the state that are muscle memory, and they can actually play out again. And that is about how much the state takes pressure, and eventually when it says no, then what does it mean? One example that I pointed out at the start was 12th May and MKM, and the way it kept on actually trying to keep on pushing the system again and again. And eventually it so happened that there was a time came when the state said that it cannot take anything more. The founder of the party, who was at that time leader of that party, is in exile and has been his communication has been ended. And similarly, that politics is also struggling right now. So this has to be turned. In this country, if you try to badmouth these state institutions as was happening even on Twitter today, on social media, there will be a precedent that will be eventually created. Let us hope we don't go there. This was today's program. Thank you very much for watching. Take care.